Good morning and welcome to our February 2017 customer webinar. Today, Christine Masters, our Director of Product Development, is going to highlight some of the highest impact new features in the latest release of BLOX CMS. There's some really exciting stuff in this release that can help you tell stories with social media and make your site faster and more secure. In the room, we also have Brad Ward, our CEO, Patrick Alone, our Director of Software Development, Teresa Nelson, our Director of Business Development. I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Something, yeah.
Rich Griffin, a Product Manager at Town News, and Cherry Wolf, a Marketing Specialist. I'm Aaron Gillette, Director of Marketing here. The presentation will take about 30 minutes and a Q&A will follow. At any point, you can type a question into the chat box, but we'll hold off on answering them until the end. I know Christine is eager to show off what's new in BLOX, so I'll stop talking. Take it away, Christine.
All right, excellent. Yeah, we're really excited about this. We're going to cover several things today, including the new Twitter integration, the new site settings for SSL or HTTPS, secure site settings. So we'll talk about that a little bit, what that means for your site. And then also Google Tag Manager. This is something that we have started on in this version, and we have some interesting stuff coming out soon regarding that. So I just wanted to talk and give a little preview of that and what we're doing in the future with Google Tag Manager. So I'll go ahead and get started. The first thing I wanted to just mention is that I think that you will notice over the upcoming year that we've really improved our development process internally. And previously, the last couple of years, we've been doing essentially quarterly releases, and we've moved this up significantly by developing a more agile process. We have, I think last year we did 10 major software releases for our main core infrastructure, so a major improvement in the quality and quantity of development that we're doing in our product. So we're really excited about that. So this is one of our big things so far for 2017 that we launched and this is available now, so this is now out, a new integration with Twitter. What this essentially allows you to do from a storytelling perspective is the reporters or the copy editors can essentially interact with Twitter from within the admin, so you don't have to go out to Twitter, do searches, get the embed codes, bring them back in. You can actually search Twitter from within the admin, pull those tweet objects or items, embed codes, into your story, drag and drop them from within your story, and actually have, kind of use Twitter as a storytelling tool. I'm sure everybody on the phone is kind of aware of how important Twitter has become to kind of the news process. We have the first Twitter president, essentially, that is, breaking a lot of news on Twitter. The Pope's on Twitter. Everybody has a Twitter account these days, and we see a lot of policy news being made on Twitter. So that's something that, when somebody announces a new policy, you can reference that by embedding that Twitter code there. And then also you can get reactions from your local users and from, other users around the internet, how they're reacting to certain things, and essentially almost like a quote, you can quote them in the story. So I think it's very useful. And again, we've seen a lot of people doing this, but the process to do that when it's not integrated is kind of clunky. So I think that we're really improving that. So I'm going to go over that really quickly, and I'm actually going to pause the slideshow here in a second and show it to you live. But first, let me just talk quickly about how you set it up. The first thing is you have to make a connection with an API, with an account to authorize the API to the Twitter account. So essentially what you can do when you'll see in the admin a little bird button right where you're typing the story. When you click on that, that will launch the connection process with your user account. Or you can go into the top right-hand corner where your user account information is, go down to connections, and then go to Twitter. And that will walk you through the connection process. Every user has to authenticate with a Twitter account. We recommend that is their personal account or their work account with Twitter. It doesn't really matter as long as it's a different account. There's no it's just an account to authorize the API. There's no visibility of that account on the front end. So if they use either a test account or their personal account or their reporter Twitter account. Any of those things would be fine. It doesn't really matter. If they need to remove their account because they did sign up with the wrong one or something like that, you can go back into this logged in area, go back into connections, and then when you click on Twitter, if you're already connected, there'll be a button there to revoke access, and then you can sign up again with a different account. So once you get attached, you can go into the story admin, and then you'll see again the little Twitter bird there. You can click on that, and it pops up a new window where you can actually search through Twitter. This is a different window so that it can be accessed either, and you can kind of move it around on the page, so I usually kind of line it up equal to my story panel. If you're doing full panel mode, you can go full panel, shrink it a little bit, and then actually have the Twitter stuff off to the side, so that works really nice. And then there's a couple of tools in here that you can use. There's essentially the option where you can include retweets and replies, or you can leave them out and have just kind of the main tweets shown. And you can include @mentions. So for example, in this case, I typed in @RealDonaldTrump, and that just gives me his user account. But if I click on @mentions, it'll include people talking to him. So there's a lot of different options that are available in here, including being able to search by a keyword or a hashtag. Those you can just type in. So there's a lot of functionality in there. And then of course, you essentially can put your cursor where you want the tweet to go, and then you click insert, and it puts it in line wherever you want that tweet to go, and you can drag and drop it. The other thing that we did that's really important is that we've been very heavily involved in accelerated mobile pages, which is a Google-sponsored platform to show very fast pages on mobile. And Twitter embeds actually have a special code for AMP. And if you use, for example, HTML assets, which a lot of people now are either embedding the Twitter code directly into the story, or they're using HTML assets and pulling those in line, both of those things will not work with AMP. They either won't show the story, or it will cause unauthorized code in the AMP page. But if you do it through the new feature, that actually will produce AMP-friendly Twitter cards that will work seamlessly. So that's actually, if you're using HTML assets and stuff now, it is advisable to ask your newsroom to perhaps start using this tool. So I'm just going to really quickly show what this looks like here. This is obviously a news article. Again, you can look up here and see where I'm connected to Twitter. And then here's the new Twitter button. Then you just click on that, and you can type in, again, the user account name. You can search for specific kind of keywords or other things that are available in here. Again, you can include retweets, and you can include replies. You can include @mentions. So now we got a bunch of people talking back to him. And then essentially when you choose one of the things that you want to insert, you just click on insert. Again, that shows up where your cursor was. You can also drag and drop this to another place. And then hit save. And then just hit a preview of it. I think I already have it up here. And then these, again, are the Twitter cards show up here. And there's my second one. And these are, again, if there's a video in these or a photo in these, that will show up as part of the Twitter card. Users can click follow. Users can retweet or reply directly from within the page. And again, these are AMP friendly, so they'll show up on AMP properly. They also, when we actually add this to the story, again, from our perspective, we're not adding the code of the actual tweet there. It's just a bracket code that is replaced on the front end. So this is a very friendly in terms of just your data and making your data clean. So it's an awesome feature. And again, I've already gotten a couple of cool feature requests for ways to enhance it even further. So let me know if you guys have any ideas on other things that you'd like to do with it, or for example, we had the request to have a checkbox for verified users, things like that. So if those things are available through the Twitter API, we will definitely look at that. So let us know how it works for you and what you think about that. But we're really excited about it. And I will say also that was a customer request that we were really excited about and looked at doing, and it was something we thought we could really help people out with that was relatively easy to do, so we're really excited about that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is something that you might have heard a lot about kind of in the industry lately, is the idea of having your site run in fully secure mode. So essentially, this is something that you might see on sites now where in the browser itself there's a little green lock here, and if it's green and it's closed, that means the site is secure, and that's good. If it's open and it's not green, that means that this site is not running over a secure channel, essentially. And it doesn't mean that the site's bad or anything like that, but it just means that it's not, the traffic isn't essentially encrypted when it's talking back and forth between the user and the server. There's a couple of reasons why this is good to do. First off, it helps with just showing that you are a real site that has a SSL certificate and are a legitimate news site. When we have all kind of fake news kind of problems out there, this helps make sure that your site is the legitimate site and that it's not somebody, spoofing your site or pretending to be your site. It also protects reader privacy. What they're reading can't be intercepted, on wireless or out on the internet, things like that. Theoretically prevents censorship from, authoritarian governments who might want to prevent certain types of traffic or monitor certain types of traffic, so that makes the actual traffic more secure. But just kind of from a newspaper perspective, there's reasons why people are interested in this. Google has recently announced that they are giving an SEO boost, or they will give an SEO boost to sites that are running full HTTPS, full secure mode. And so in theory, that they're going to start giving SEO boost to those sites. So far, there hasn't been a huge noticeable bump in secure sites yet, so we don't know how heavily they are influencing search results based on that, but we assume that they'll probably ramp that up over the year as things go forward. We also anticipate that Google in particular really wants sites to go more secure, and so we anticipate that they will continue to think of new ways to, encourage people to go secure by adding more icons and warnings and
to force you
to kind of give or take more icons and things to encourage people to shame people from having the HTTP site and encourage them to go secure. So we think that they're going to kind of continue those things through the Chrome browser. And then lastly, there are some potential speed improvements from not kind of going back and forth between secure, having some elements secure and not secure. So there's a lot of reasons to do this. So we think that especially throughout this year, more people are going to be interested in doing that. So let's talk about how you would go about doing that. So let me set the kind of expectations on this. This is really hard. So this isn't going to be like, tomorrow you go in and change the setting and everything's great, because there's a lot of stuff that is on almost every site. There's a lot of stuff that is not secure. There's, the video player that you have a third party. You might have ads or, a hard-coded image at the top of a form contest page that you did in 2001. I mean, all of those things that exist out there, once you go into secure mode, anything that is talking over HTTP, not HTTPS, essentially will be blocked by the browser and it will not show up on the front end. If there are, if you've got a tag for Qualcomm or Comcast or whatever kind of external Chartbeat, vendors that you might be using, if those are insecure tags, that they're not referencing secure files or a secure script, those scripts will not load. So it's very important to make sure that, there's a lot of things in terms of third parties that you might be using, hard-coded HTML that you might be using, ad tags you might be using, that you'll need to check out ahead of time. Custom stuff that you might have done with Town News, that might be a problem. We've worked over the last year or so to the best of our ability to make sure that all of our stuff talks secure mode. So, obviously there might be some edge cases that we will find as more and more people end up doing this, but as of now, that stuff should be secure. So what we would recommend is that there's a couple of things. First off, the easiest thing to do would be to look in your your BLOX preview, where you click on in the lower right-hand corner to preview your site. That is actually looking at your site in a secure setting. And so if you have a bunch of widgets or ads or other things that don't show up in admin preview, that could be an indication that they are not secure. There are other reasons why they might not show up, so that's not a definitive test, but that's a good starting point. I was looking at a site last night that they had a couple of widgets on the page that didn't show up, and indeed it was because they were not secure. So that's a good starting point. You can kind of walk through your site in that mode and see any big blank spots and then figure out what was there. The second thing would be, there's a couple different ways. And I'll show this on the next slide. There's a new button where you can set a specific URL to be secure. So you might want to take something like your entertainment section and make that section secure, and then walk through it on the front end and see, see if there's anything that's missing, make sure that the ads work correctly, make sure that, if you have a third-party login system, if you've got third-party commenting, if you've got a special block that you built, all those things, make sure that those are secure. You can also look if you have a developer on staff or somebody with some technological skills. You can ask them to look in the web developer tools console, and you can see scripts that are being called in there. And if there's big red lines that say this is an insecure script loaded on a secure page, so we didn't load it, there'll be a big warning in there for the insecure script. So you'll know, okay, so Facebook didn't load because I have an insecure Facebook widget loading on there, and that's the reason. So that's something that you can do. The next step I would say is, this is the new panel that we have, and this is available in site settings for the main site settings for your site. So this is where you set your name and then your www status, and then there's a new tab for HTTPS. So the three different options that are available here, there's redirect to HTTP. So this means that your site will be over HTTP, and you'll be redirected to HTTP if someone goes to HTTPS. So this is essentially the insecure mode, which is the default right now. There are some sections, and this kind of talks about it down here, there are some sections that we force to be secure, where essentially we're gathering credit card information or user information. And currently, so like Ad Owl or the forms section or the user dashboard, where we're gathering user information, we currently force those to be secure, and those will continue to be secure even under this mode. But the second mode is to redirect to HTTPS. That means that regardless of where a user, whatever a user types, it will automatically be redirected to the secure page. So this is where you are full secure. This is the fully secure mode. Everything on your site, RSS feeds, images, ads, everything will be secure in that mode. And then the third option is do nothing. And this basically means that whatever channel a user comes in on, they essentially stay on that channel. So if they come into the site with HTTP insecure, they'll stay insecure. If they come into the site with HTTPS, they'll stay secure as they click on relative links throughout the site. So one thing that you could do is maybe for a day or two, do the do nothing mode, and that will actually allow you personally to go into and force HTTPS by just typing it in, and then kind of walk through your site and see what loads or what doesn't load at that point. So that's kind of a more advanced public test of this, where you'd be able to, again, walk kind of through the site. And then if everything looks okay, switch to the full redirect to HTTPS mode, and then your site will be fully secure. And then again, you'll be able to kind of test that out and see how it goes. If there are issues, let us know. You can always go back to HTTP and then switch back if needed. So again, just to kind of set the expectations here, there are a lot of third parties and things that people are using, and you might need to talk to the video vendor or the ad vendor and say, do you have secure or protocol-less that doesn't specify the connection code available. So, but that's really exciting. And the other thing I mentioned is that, I think I talked about all this stuff, community mode, redirect to HTTPS. We also have this new option that is on the URL map under page properties, where essentially on that tab where you're filling out the title, the label, etc., there's a new checkbox at the bottom here that allows that specific section to be HTTPS. That does not inherit down. So if you have if you want to try it on your entertainment section, you have 5 URLs, you do have to check it on all of the URLs, but it allows you to test that out. Google Tag Manager. This is something that we've been working on this for a couple of months now, just seeing what are the different options that are available in Tag Manager and how we can implement them for our site. And so this last release, we actually made our first couple of steps for Google Tag Manager that we're starting to implement this, and we're really excited about what we're seeing so far. So first off, what is Google Tag Manager? Basically, it is I kind of describe it as a container into which you can place various tags from different organizations. So you might have a tag from Chartbeat, or you might have a tag from Crazy Egg, those type of things. And then they essentially give you this JavaScript tag, and Google Tag Manager allows you kind of a single location where you can go in and place all of those tags, and it kind of optimizes them and allows you to manage those things without having to talk to Town News a lot. The other really nice thing that Google Tag Manager has is they actually have specific integrations with, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 different vendors. And they essentially, what you do is you just type in maybe your ID information, and the ID for your Chartbeat, for example, or the ID for Crazy Egg, and they actually will generate the appropriate code for you. The really nice thing about that is that going forward, if Crazy Egg ever changes their code, they just talk to Google Tag Manager, and that code is automatically changed for your site. So it's a really nice way to make sure that all of your tags are up to date, that everything loads in the proper order, and that there's less conflicts. And it's just a really good way to handle all of these different tags that people have for their site. So that being said, one of the first things that we've done is we have global analytics that is included on all of the Town News sites by default. And previously we had just a Google Analytics tag included there. And one of the things that we do with that, and it's very interesting seeing kind of global statistics for all Town News customers. We can see, for example, that we're at about 60% phones now. That's not including tablets at all. About 60% of the traffic coming to Town News in overall is phones. Heavily iPhone usage, probably 30% total iPhones. And we were just looking yesterday at e-edition. There's a lot of people looking at e-edition on a tablet, which is really interesting. Not on phones, which is good. So, so there's a lot of really interesting things we can see in terms of what the end users are doing on your site, and it really helps us make good decisions about how best to offer new tools and support to existing partners, and to again help the end users. So we have now, as of this release, switched our Google Analytics over to Google Tag Manager, and then it actually loads Google Analytics through Tag Manager. So we can still see, information in general about pages, but it really allows us to more properly track additional data that we can also make available to you. So that's kind of the next part of this that I wanted to talk about, this idea of what's called a data layer. And the data layer is just essentially a JavaScript, object, yeah, into which you can kind of pass information. And what we are able to do as the CMS is we can pass a lot of information to that data layer, and then you, if you implement Google Tag Manager, you can actually pick and choose what data you want to capture for your own information. So a couple of things that you can do. There's essentially, this is what the Google Tag Manager looks like, and you can see there's, you can create new tags. There's a really nice version control system in here, so you can see who edited what and at what time. There's a place where essentially you can enter new variables, and then you can capture those variables from the data layer in order to add to your analytics. The things that are available right now that are a part of this latest software release that we did, you're actually able to now to capture breakpoint sizes. So this is something that we actually couldn't do before because breakpoint sizes weren't like a trackable thing from within Google Analytics. You do have viewport size, and you do have like device and stuff like that you can get into Google Analytics. But it's really difficult, and we've been asked this a lot. If I want to sell a new ad position on the small the small breakpoint size, how many page views is that? And there previously was no way of knowing that. But now with breakpoint sizes, we can actually see how much traffic we get to each of those breakpoint sizes. So that's very interesting. Small is very low traffic. That's the first thing that we were able to see. So that's an interesting thing. Extra small is where it's at. Breakpoint sizes, we also added a new implementation of ad blocking that gets pushed to the data layer. That's something that we are very interested in watching and seeing how ad blocking rates are affecting our sites. So that's now available in the data layer. We also have some other stuff that might not be as interesting to you as it is to us, but skin name, essentially the skin of the template file that is loaded on that page, and the library, so this is Flex or Zen or site templates, etc. The application that is loaded, and then also an identification if this is bot traffic. So that's, again, an interesting thing that you can see. And those things are available in the data layer now. We are working on some additional stuff that will be available in a couple of weeks. We have some data objects that are available now that we're actually going to change, and we're going to replace with some of these new items. We have specific things for syndication and for content exchange. We'll have a new category coming from content exchange, the syndication channel, the origin site, and the source. So with that information, we'll be able to see essentially people in the content exchange, where your stuff is going, where you're getting things from, on your site, what is the most popular content exchange channel, who's the most popular source. Obviously, if there's a specific site that's doing really well, you could get more content from that source. There's a bunch of stuff that you could do with that. In addition, we're talking about adding additional code for page grid, page style, author, asset type, a bunch of different stuff that we're going to add in to the data layer, again, to help you make good decisions about your site. Do you want to talk a little bit for 2 sentences about the metering stuff?
Yeah, we're adding some an object to handle the paywall stuff, which allows you to set up funnels for your metering workflows, and we're also adding some stuff for enhanced e-commerce for subscription conversion management tracking. So that'll be coming out soon too.
Yeah, and then the nice thing about that, obviously, is you'll be able to kind of see well, 80% of the people come to my site and they never get to my metering wall,
Sure.
which maybe that might tell you that your metering wall is too big or too small. And then you can see
Tells you a lot about where they're coming from. Maybe they're just
Right.
drive-bys off of Google.
how many are
Twitter,
drive-bys.
yeah.
Yep. And then you can also see how many people hit your paywall and then signed up or didn't sign up. So that kind of tells you what's your price point. And I mean, it gives you a lot of insights that aren't available now. So we're really excited about that. And lastly, and there's also some events and things with social share, with following the page, things like that. I mentioned that there are some elements out there that there's some things that were old and that we're going to clean up. So if you are a customer that is currently using Google Tag Manager and you are using existing data elements, send me an email or contact us at this number because we just want to make sure that either you can keep your existing data layer elements. There's a way for us to do that. We can just add a snippet in there so you can keep those elements, or we can help you transition to the new ones. So we just want to make sure that there's no interruption of service, that you lose a data point that you were getting before. So let us know, and again, that will probably be within 2 to 3 weeks that the next phase of this will come out, that some of this stuff might change. And we will have more detailed documentation on essentially how to set that up, what all of the variables are, Rich's metering stuff, how to set that up. And if you're interested in experimenting with this, if this is something that is interesting to you, please submit a ticket and tell them to send that to me, because we would be very interested in kind of working with a couple people and trying this stuff out and seeing how it goes. Because like I said, we're excited about this and we would be interested in some beta testers. So let us know. And lastly, just another couple of quick things to mention from this last release. This is a really small thing, but we've gotten a lot of requests for this over time. There is a column called last modify time, which is essentially the last time the asset was modified. Previously, it was available, but it was not sortable, and that is now sortable. So that's actually, I think, will be a very popular way to view the admin, especially for copy editors or people just trying to see what is the last thing that was touched on the site, what are things that have now changed queues or things like that. And so you'll actually be able to sort by the most recently modified items, which is cool. And if you do not have last modified time available in your admin, what you can do is you actually can click on the toolbar up here at the top, and then it takes you down to columns, and then you can choose last modified time. All of this in the BLOX admin is customizable. You can choose to drag and drop these columns back and forth. You can choose which columns that you want to show up, and then, like I said, reorder them. And then you can actually change the width of them if you need to modify that, so you can see all of the field in there. And then that actually saves as part of a cookie on your account, so that when you log in next time, that setup will be saved for you. So it's a really nice thing. So again, that's now available. Last modified time is sortable. We also have, and this will be really interesting, especially for people in the content exchange or who are using syndication in general. Related content items such as pull quotes and info boxes and all those things will now syndicate. In order to syndicate, they must have a matching, what's called a content style. So you can see here in the asset editor, there's a application settings where you can control what related content styles you want to support for your site, and the content style name needs to match. And if it matches and you have an existing, for example, more info, bio box, pull quote field, that will syndicate along with the article. If you don't have a matching one, it will not syndicate to your site. We're not going to put related content that says more info, but it's a pull quote or something like that. So we want to make sure that they all match up together. So that's why we kind of do that check. But that'll be really neat, because I mean, we start out with the same related content on most sites. So a lot of times we should be seeing a lot more of that related content stuff start syndicating as part of either the syndication process or, like I said, the content exchange. So that's very interesting. In addition, we also have taglines that are now syndicating. So if you had author boxes or copyright or anything like that that travels in the tagline field, that will also now syndicate along with those articles. So some great new stuff there. We get a lot of people, collections are extremely popular, and we have a lot of people doing great stuff with collections, series of articles and photo galleries and really great video slideshows. You can pretty much make a collection out of any type of asset, businesses, classifieds, any type of asset, and then you can do an asset presentation mode on that to make it either a series or a paging gallery, which is great for page views. So this is something that we've spent a lot of time on really enhancing, and we do have customers that are doing some interesting things, and they weren't able to add all of the usual flags that they could. We had kind of a limited flag set available for collections. So we've had a lot of requests for people who wanted to add more flags to those, and we have now kind of consolidated that, and now we will allow you to do a breaking news collection or a weather alert collection. Those types of things are all now available within the tags on those collections. So if you wanted to put a collection into a breaking news spot or a collection into your top story spot, that is now available. And lastly, this is kind of an interesting thing. We have a partnership now with CNN where we have now made their channel available through our syndication tool. And currently, you have to be a customer. This is a company called CNN News Source that kind of provides the CNN content as a syndication channel. And you have to be a partner, or it's a service that you pay for from CNN News Source. And essentially, when you sign up with them, then they will provide you with a username, a password, and what's called a VAN ID, which is essentially kind of your ID number with their service. And then when you come into the syndication tool, there is now a new channel available called CNN. And when you click on that to set it up, there's an area where you can enter your channel name, your username, your password, and your VAN ID. And channel name obviously will just be CNN or whatever you want to call that for your own purposes. And then you enter your username, password, and VAN ID, and then you set that up, and you'll actually get the categories that you can search. You can kind of see that in my screenshot here, the categories you can search, and then it shows all of their story assets with videos related. So you'll get a bunch of new videos and new content available for your site. So it's a great service, and again, if you're interested in that, it's CNN News Source. We have documentation available online in our help section as well. But you can look for CNN News Source and then sign up with them, and then just come in here and fill out the form. So we're really excited about that. And so again, just a quick overview. We've done a whole bunch of work with Twitter, secure sites. We have some stuff upcoming with Google Tag Manager. Definitely let us know what you think of these releases as they're coming out. Again, we're interested in what you think, any additional features or feedback you have, or if we're going in the right direction with this stuff. So we're interested to hear back from you.
Cool. We actually have a lot of questions.
Okay.
So we'll start powering through these. There are a lot of questions about how the Twitter functionality either works or does not work with Total CMS. Is the new Twitter functionality integrated in Total CMS? And someone has a question about, it seems edits to the story in Total CMS would wipe out any the Twitter tweets that are included in hosted blocks. So how do those two systems work together?
So a couple months for that, and then, but yeah, so once that's available, you can do tweets within the Total CMS admin, and then those will sync over as they come through. But yeah, if you're making kind of web enhancements on the hosted side, then just don't syndicate it until the point where you want the print version to come through.
Okay.
Good question.
What is AMP? Someone wants to know.
Good question. AMP is a program that was started by Google, but it is an open source program. There's a big developer community out there. of people contributing code to AMP and people participating in the project. Essentially what it does is it's a very limited code base of functionality that is all hosted on Google side and all kind of approved by Google that and the community, where they host it, and it ends up being, because of the fact that it's very limited and there's limited ad calls, limited JavaScript, limited image functionality, all of those things make it very fast. They have, the numbers that they have out there is the average web page takes about 22 seconds to load. The average AMP page takes sub-second to load, less than a second. So it is almost an instantaneous loading time for the article to pop up for a user. Right now it is mobile only, and essentially in different platforms like Google Search, on mobile, if you find a page that is AMP ready, they put like a little lightning bolt icon on it, and then or a little AMP icon on it, and then you can click on it and it just pops up right away. So that is something that they are really heavily pushing, and again, it works really nicely on the front end. We have full support for that. If you look at our help site at help.blockcms.com, we have a document on essentially how to set this up and kind of how it works. There's a couple of caveats to it. For example, a photo is required on the story, otherwise it doesn't get quote unquote amplified. So there's some caveats to it, but it's a very interesting program, and again, it's extremely fast due to the limitations that they place on the code and how it's hosted. So it's a great user experience. So we also have support for Facebook Instant Articles, which is a similar type thing, but that's done through essentially an RSS feed that gets sent to Facebook. So it has limited functionality for things like the Twitter embeds and things like that. But the Google side is kind of new code that we put out there if your page is AMP ready. So if that's something that you're interested in, again, like I said, go to help.blockcms.com and search for AMP, and then you'll find a bunch of documentation on how to set that up and what it looks like and all that kind of thing. So good question. It is, I would definitely recommend, one thing also with the AMP stuff, it's essentially a URL setting to set this up, so you can experiment with it on your entertainment section or, another, your business blogs, for example, another section in your site, and you can essentially make them AMP ready and kind of see how it goes and what you think about it and what the effect on, you get page views, obviously, for all of those things, and there are DFP ads that are included there. So you can have ad traffic and page view traffic on those. So it's something that, you might want to experiment with on a couple of your sections and see how it works for you and what you think about it. But it's very interesting new technology.
Yeah, one of our listeners just noted that there's a downside. They feel that you lose some branding and that it's hosted on Google, so you lose some brand awareness, they feel. I mean, it's a business decision. You have to decide if it's right for your publication.
I would say, I don't know, I would be pretty much, it looks, because you still get your logo, you still get your kind of the color and everything of your site. You can still set the color, the footer. So it looks very much like a mobile page in blocks in terms of what it looks like. The URL is the same, all that stuff. However, the calculation that I would think of is how many ads do you have on your current mobile site versus how many ads will you have on your AMP page, and how much more traffic will you get for the benefits of how fast the AMP pages are. And that's the calculation that you as a business kind of need to make. So, but it is something, to look at and experiment with and watch for, in the future.
Okay. Someone says, I have not been able to get the Twitter feed to work in Firefox, but it works in Google Chrome. Is that an issue?
I think that there was a bug fix coming out for Firefox Twitter.
That's already been released.
It just was released, yeah.
Okay.
So that there was a problem with that initially, making that connection, but that should be released now. So try it again and let us know.
Okay. Are Google AMP and Facebook Instant Articles still not compatible with the townnews.com paywall system?
Correct. We're working on, there is a way in the future that we will be able to provide paywall or some kind of metering-ish thing on AMP. That's something that they have in the last couple of months come out with a functionality for that, so we're looking at integrating with that. Facebook thus far has indicated that they will not provide a paywall. However, just in the last week or so, they made an announcement that they are looking at a new initiative where they're going to be more, they have kind of a journalism outreach project that they're, it's kind of talking to journalism partners and asking how Facebook can make publishers be friendly to publishers and help publishers out. And one of the things that was on that list was possible paywall support. So that is something that we might have coming from Facebook. Like I said, in the past, there was very little indication that they would ever do that, and now it seems like they might have something. So when that is available, we would look at it. We have not seen it yet, though.
A listener is wondering if you would mind showing how to embed an image with a story, within a story.
Sure. We actually have really great support for inlining of content in general in blocks. And so essentially all you do is go to the related tab and you have your child asset area and you just go like bloop, and that's inline. So it's pretty easy, yeah. I will say, just as a quick preview, because I'm super excited about this, in the next couple of versions, so in hopefully the first part of 2017, we have a major initiative to really expand the functionality of this drag and drop thing. We get a lot of really good feedback from people who love the ability of just kind of dragging and dropping these things around and really planning what their article page looks like. And we are really expanding that functionality and adding the capability for sibling assets to be in line, parent assets to be in line, and related content. So I could come in here and make a little info box or a pull quote with additional information, and then I can pull the pull quote in line and even perhaps float left, float right, things like that, give you some more design options available within that story. And we think that that'll really help with kind of storytelling opportunities and especially in combination with our long form presentation mode, which gives you a really clean interface to show those stories. You'll be able to have that big story interface with big, beautiful inline photos and videos, and we think it'll be a really good storytelling experience. So we're really excited about that, and that's something that those things right now. The child assets are available to inline, and like I said, we're adding new functionality later this year to expand that even further.
Okay. Someone is wondering if they can use their own third-party certificates with the HTTPS functionality.
What, Patrick? Can you answer that?
I feel like the answer is yes, but let me confirm with someone who's listening.
Yeah. Well, send us a ticket about that. We're not sure exactly how that would work, so we might have that functionality, but feel free to send us a ticket and we can check.
Someone's wondering if you can show us how to look at blocks at a BLOX CMS site in secure mode.
Sure. So I'll give you a couple of real quick stages here. So like I said before, in view site mode, you can click on preview. And actually, I'm just going to go, I don't know if Fredericksburg is on the phone or not, but they're the site that I was looking at this morning or last night because they were asking about secure. So they're actually a kind of a good example of this. But if you go to preview, and they have a really nice looking site here. So what you can see is this is a good example where their ads are all showing up because their ads are secure. And then over here, they have I think it's a Twitter widget and like a little job scrolly widget thing. And those things are not secure, so you can see that they're not showing up here. If you look at the developer tools, you can actually click in there and kind of see what it is that is, this is an iframe to an HTTP page. So that's a really good indication there that, again, you have a widget there that is not secure. What you would do is contact that vendor or wherever you're getting that iframe from and say, do you have a secure version of this? Not only does the iframe need to be secure, but things that are inside the iframe, if there's a script that loads a video player or something, all of the things that the video player does needs to be secure also, so they need to have a secure version. If they don't have a secure version, you obviously would need to decide if you still want to use that widget or if you want to wait until one is available at a later time. The other thing that you can do here is look at the console, and you'll actually be able to see in here the things that will say these things were tried to load over HTTPS, but it was insecure, so these things count as mixed content, and you can see all of the different warnings that come up and which one is blocked because they are not secure. So and again, there might be things on your page that you don't see that that are an indication in here of the fact that they are not secure. And then the next thing would be, again, like I said before, there are some things that may not show up in the admin just for different reasons because they're ads and maybe you don't have ads turned on in the admin, things like that. So that's just a first step. The next step would be to actually look at possibly a URL going to maybe the entertainment section or something like that. And, again, you can look at that and turn on the URL for that specific section. And then the next thing would be to go into your site settings, go to site, and then go to the HTTPS panel, and then you can start doing the redirect or the do nothing mode at that point, and then experimenting with that. But like I said, there are going to be a lot of things that are not necessarily going to work for your site right away, and so I do expect there to be a lot of experimentation and talking to vendors and asking us to switch this. Here's the new code for my commenting system. Can you guys swap that out? Things like that, and just let us know if you need help with that.
A couple of questions, a couple of related questions to banner ads and getting them to show up in secure mode. Just looked at our site in secure mode. None of the locally produced banner ads show up. Why would they not be secure, and what do we do to fix that?
So if you're using, it depends on some settings that you might have in terms of, like if you're using BLOX ad manager ads, you might have it turn. If you see a big box there where the ad would go, that could be because you're using BLOX ad manager ad and they're just turned off in the admin, so you don't see, it's not real traffic to those ads. So that could be the reason why if you're using BLOX ads and they're just kind of images, those are all set to be secure, so those should work. That's one of the things that I was saying where, looking at it in the admin is step one, but that doesn't guarantee that that's why something isn't showing up, so that's one of those cases. Another thing might be if you're using BLOX ad manager, but you have HTML ads that are not secure, that is also a possibility, and those will not show up. And again, you'll have to either find what the secure version of those are or talk to the vendor and ask for a secure ad code and then replace the existing insecure ones with secure ones. I will say that secure content can be loaded on an insecure page. So during the migration process, if you just find a new widget from a vendor, you can just put it on your page today, even though you're not ready to fully switch over. You can start switching individual pieces over one by one and start loading them secure, and then when you're ready for everything, you can move over.
Is the switch between HTTPS and HTTP instantaneous, or is there a cache delay? They want to know in case there's a problem.
I mean, I assume that there's a standard 5 or 10 minutes cache delay when you switch to HTTPS.
So, pages that were served over HTTP will still continue to serve HTTP until they're until
refreshed.
they expire out of cache, so. Yeah, there's probably a lag of about 5-10 minutes maybe.
Right.
Okay. So what should our next step be for Google Tag Manager? Do we need to wait for a rollout, or can we go ahead and create an account and start using it?
Yeah, I mean, you can start using it now. There is documentation available in our help site to kind of get you started. I will say, actually, this is an important thing. If you turn on Google Tag Manager, we, I guess expect and require you to do your Google Analytics code through Tag Manager. So if you are using our analytics implementation, which is here. So if you're doing this, your analytics through here, we put the analytics code on your site, and if you turn on Tag Manager, we will stop putting in analytics code because you should be putting it through your Tag Manager. So that's an important thing to note. But yeah, check out the documentation for that.
We were about to request some help with Twitter cards. We don't want the large image option. Would Google Tag Manager be a way to manage that?
I don't think so. So yeah, put in a ticket for that and we can see what you're looking to do.
This is not a question, it's an exclamation. It uses several exclamation points.
Okay.
I'm not gonna yell, but last modify time sortable, yes.
Great.
Excitement about last modify time sortable. And that is it for the questions. So we have many ways to stay connected with us. If you have any questions about anything you've heard about today, about implementing any of these features, please visit help.blockcms.com and search our documentation, or you can call our support line at any time, 800-293-9576, or you can submit a ticket at support.townnews.com. If you want to share ideas with other townnews.com customers and partners, you can visit community.townnews.com. That's a great place to do that. We do have a new status page that tells you the status of all of our systems here at Town News, and you can there's a widget in the admin within the admin on the desktop of the admin that shows you our current system status, or you can visit townnews.status.io and you can sign up to receive notifications of status changes on our systems. You can also follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. We also offer a variety of newsletters and email communications, and you can sign up for those by visiting townnews.com, clicking news, and there's a sidebar there called Stay Connected that allows you to sign up for all of those email communiques. And of course, if you have if there's anything you would like to sign up for that you're not signed up for, please contact your sales representative and they can help you out with that. But that is all for this month. Thank you very much, Christine, and we will talk to everyone
Awesome.
next month. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks very much.